name is Edward Ebenezer Jeremiah Brown. I'm a football supporter of Ipswich Town. Wherever they play, you'll find me. I haven't missed a game since I was 3. With me scarf and me rattle and a big rosette, singing where was the goalie when the ball was in the net. Follow the town, up or down. I'm Edward Ebenezer Jeremiah Brown, but everybody call me Ted.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of We Follow the Town, a weekly Ipswich Town show looking at all things Ipswich. And unfortunately, we've approached the very last show of the season. It's been a turbulent season, both on and off the pitch, with Paul Lambert leaving and Paul Cook coming in. But fear not, we are joined by an absolutely fantastic guest in Chris. First of all, Chris, before we get on to the show, how are you and what do you think about Ipswich Town at the moment?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks, mate. Hope you're good. Bit excited, looking forward to the future, see what's to come. Don't know, there's big changes happening, I suppose. Don't really know, do we? Like, we don't know what's coming out in the press with leave or not. We ain't had no official comment from the club, so it's sort of a wait. See what happens now, isn't it?
And many apologies. The connection seems to be a bit dodgy there. But before we get on to the show, and I'll ask you a couple of more questions about Ipswich Town and, of course, your fantastic fundraising, I just want to quickly mention our sponsor, Julian Hughes, who is a golf coach. Julian Hughes coaches at Old Joe's Golf in Great Conrad, and you can contact him, juleshughes1965@gmail.com, or you can phone him at 07382 834 199. And welcome to everybody in the comments. Thank you very much for joining the show today. Please feel free to get involved. So just before we get on to everything to do with Ipswich, you're involved in a lot of fundraising and you're also doing the London Marathon, which is an absolutely fantastic cause. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, in 2012, my little boy passed away, and he was 15 months old, and he was too old to be classed as cot deaf, but we wasn't given an explanation for it. So after, we went through everything, and we decided to start raising money for a cot deaf charity. And we've done lots of things like skydive, bungee jump. We visited all 92 Football League grounds within 5 days. And this year I've decided to get involved with the London Marathon for the first time. So I've climbed mountains as well before. But yeah, this is sort of like the big one, really.
So how proud are you to be doing it? Because the London Marathon is no mean strength. It's a very tough thing to do.
Yeah, well, if I can finish it, I'll be very proud because the training's going it's a bit tough at the moment. Like the mileage is gradually picking up, but I'll get there gradually.
So where can people sponsor you? Are you open to sponsorships or anything like that?
Yeah, giving com. It'll be 10 years since he passed, so that's where we got that from. Or if you go on Virgin Giving and type in Chris Wade, you'll be able to find me on there as well.
Perfect. And we'll also put that down below in the comments and in the description. And again, it's a wonderful cause to sponsor, and I wish you the best of luck for the London Marathon. And I bet you'll finish it in good time as well. And welcome to everybody in the comments, fingers crossed. Stephen Parry, welcome to Stephen, welcome Lee Brown. But let's get on to a bit more Ipswich, because again, I did ask you briefly about what you thought of this season. So quickly sum up the season for me in 2 words. What 2 words would you use to describe this season?
Not great. It's about as much as I can say, really.
So where do you think... Yeah, that's probably the perfect way to describe it. But where do you think it went wrong for us?
I don't really know, because like last year we had all the changing of the team and the form formation every game. This year seemed more consistent and we started well again, but it just dropped off for some reason. And obviously, when you don't score goals, you ain't going to get very far. We've got one of the best defences in the league again. I think it's the 4th or 5th best defence, but you can't draw 0-0 every game. And if you're not scoring goals or creating chances, you ain't going to go anywhere.
And here is what everybody in the comments put. Stephen Parry put goodbye. I think that's a perfect way to sum it up. Lee Brown put total rubbish, which I think is almost spot on. So can we blame, Chris, most of where we are on Paul Lambert, or is it down to like a mixture of things? Our previous owner, our players. So what do you think?
At the end of the day, everything, in my opinion, lies at Marcus Evans. The whole decline is under him, and we've been on a steady decline over the years under Mick. Like Mick McCarthy worked wonders to get us, even keep us in that. Paul Hurst took over. When you're signing League One and League Two players, it's not. You can sign a couple and you can pick some diamonds in the rough, but when you're creating your whole squad with League One and League Two players, you ain't gonna go anywhere far. And it's just a gradual thing. And even Lambert didn't have any money to sign. Like in the summer, we signed 3 players. Was it Cornell, Ward, and Hawkins?
That's it. Yeah, they're not.
Even then, like they're not players that's going to set world alight, are they? Everything's just done on a budget, and me personally, it's down to Marcus Evans. Obviously, Lambert had his faults, Hurst had his faults, McCarthy had his faults, and same with Paul Cook. He's going to have his faults, but it all stems under Marcus Evans.
So, do you reckon that the recruitment could have been better despite the tight budget? Because Paul Lambert did bring in a couple of very poor players. Stephen Ward started very well. You mentioned Ollie Hawkins, and in my opinion, Ollie Hawkins hasn't shown anything at all, really. So, do you reckon that we could maybe have recruited better under a tight budget?
Possibly. I mean, Mick McCarthy managed to do it before under a tight. I know the budget's even tighter now, but it's hard to say. It's hard to say because he managed to get a good few loans in again, but it's just they didn't get the right players. And whether they could have done better, I don't know. But other clubs managed to do better. Look at Blackburn and Lincoln. They completely changed their squads and made the playoffs.
So I'm just going to quickly go to the comments. Stephen Parry, like last year, we had a great defensive record, but we can't score. So you mentioned Blackpool and Lincoln. Ironically, Blackpool and Lincoln did exactly what we're doing this summer, last summer, where they've literally let go of all of their players. So do you reckon, because we have more or less put every single one of our current players on the transfer list, do you reckon there's a big risk associated with that?
Yeah, of course there is. There's definite risk. But at the end of the day, the players that we've had haven't done it. And we don't want to be mid-table League One. Like we don't ask for much as Ipswich fans. We're not expecting to be in the Champions League. But to be in the Championship is where we should be. And a lot of people will go on about losing our homegrown players and that. It's a good point. But they've played this season and they haven't done it. So it's not been good enough. And they could go to a Championship club. They could go to Blackburn. The Downs could end up at Crystal Palace. But they haven't done it for us. And if they don't want to be here, let them go. They haven't done it, so we may as well risk it and go for a big change, big overhaul.
So, Stephen Parry, we needed a bit of attacking power and got a Portsmouth reject who didn't score that. He used to be a centre-back, actually, Ollie Hawkins. It's a risk worth taking. Sorry. So, a lot of our youngsters, and you just alluded to it, the likes of Downs, Dizelle, I don't think you can really consider him a youngster though anymore, and even Dobra have also been put onto the transfer list. So Paul Cook saying, okay, you're allowed to come in, make an offer, and who knows, we'll probably accept it. So what do you think about that? Because surely it's a bit of a risk, offering our youngsters.
It is a risk. Like Dobra's only just broken into the team properly, so they won't all go. I can't see them all going, but a lot of them will. It will be a risk, but we need to free up spaces. You can only have, I think the rules are still in place that we'll only have 20 players over the age of 21 next season. And Cook's going to want his players, and he's given most people a chance, and it hasn't happened.
So, game changer.
Sorry.
Agreed. So our owners, I think there's a bit of an internet problem on my behalf, so apologies about that to everybody in the comments. I'll try and sort it out soon. But Game Changer Limited, they are our owners. They have put 40 million, allegedly, I want to say allegedly before I say this, have allegedly put 40 million into our transfer budget. So we will have a lot to spend in the summer. With 40 million in our transfer budget, again, allegedly, do you reckon we should really be recruiting championship quality players? Because there will be a lot of pressure on recruitment in the summer.
Yeah, I suppose you probably would want to be trying to get championship quality players, because you don't want to be getting promoted next season and doing the same thing, letting everyone go because they're only League One level. But you've also got to be able to persuade them to come to League One. And there is still a salary cap, or not salary cap, but it's still going to be hard work to get these championship quality players to sign for us.
So, Stephen Parry, get them gone. We need a fresh start. Bishop been here 7 years. If he's not going to make it, I think he's proved it. That's a good point, though. Like, a lot of the players we do consider youngsters, such as Dozzell and Bishop, they're not really youngsters anymore. They're in their mid-20s. So would it really be that bad if we let go of both Bishop and Dozzell? I know we've both kept them. We haven't released them, but they've still been transfer listed more or less.
Yeah, I mean, Bishop has only played 70, 75 games, something like that for us. And if you're mid-20s and you only played that amount, he could go on to be a good player. But we can't keep players in our squad on the basis of them possibly being a good player in the future, possibly being able to be injury-free. Dozzell's the same. Like, I know he's only been in the squad for the last few years and that, but he's not stood out as like a shining light in the squad or anything. He's been just the same as everyone, average, with a couple of bright bits here and there. But again, it's not going to be a major loss, in my opinion, if he was to go.
So let's get on to the news, and there'll be plenty of transfer talk to talk about in the news. But let's go on to the under-18s first. The under-18s lost to Liverpool in the FA Cup semi-final. It isn't really an embarrassment losing to Liverpool. They are a very good team, and I think the under-18s did us proud. First of all, what do you make of their FA Cup youth run? And should they be proud of how well they've done? Because in my opinion, they've certainly done the club very proud.
They were brilliant. They absolutely brilliant. I watched that game and I was proud for the first time of watching Ipswich for a long time. Watching them play, like, credit to both teams as well. No play acting, no diving, back chatting to the referee. It was just like watching proper football, and they gave everything they had. I can't speak highly enough of them. Absolutely brilliant.
So, do you reckon that a few of them should be promoted to the first team? Because we do have Elkin Baggett. Elkin Baggett is a very good youngster. He's on loan at Kings Lynn. He's obviously allowed to play for the under-18s. But would you maybe like to see a player like that promoted to the first team?
I'd love to see it. But they've got to be good enough. And it's easy for us to say, I'll put the youth in, promote them through. We don't see them on a daily basis, and like they may not be strong enough, and that, like, I can see the fitness was tiring towards the end. Elkin Baggett, he's a bit of a machine at the back. He's massive. He looks like a fully grown player. He's ready to go. But at the end of the day, I trust in Paul Cook to make decisions, and if he thinks they're ready, I'm sure he'll bring them through.
So, Brains 21, he's promoted his book. Football Brains is a quiz book on eBay, so be sure to type that up onto eBay and get yourself a copy. Lee Brown, clean slate needed. Can't wait for next season. So, elsewhere in the world of the under-18s, they are in semi-final action in the playoffs. This is the Professional Development League 2 playoffs. So, two big playoff games well, not a playoff game. One of them was a semi-final and the other one's a playoff. But two big games for the under-18s. How proud would you be if the under-18s actually got promoted from the Development League to League?
Oh, it'd be amazing. It would be amazing. At the end of the day, we're a Category 2 club, and any sort of success that we can get at that level would be brilliant. And for the way that they played against Liverpool, it does make you proud to be an Ipswich fan. They wanted it, and they gave everything. At the end of the day, Liverpool have got international youth players all across the board. They brought on a German striker at the end. That's the quality they've got, and we went toe to toe with them. And if we can play like that in the playoff match, I'm sure they'll do all right.
So Adam Ate, the manager of the under-18s, he's a very good manager. He's done very well at the under-18s. Would he perhaps be somebody that you would look to promote to the first team? Because he would definitely be a valuable member of staff, wouldn't he?
I think promoting him to the 23s first may be better, because I think him and I being part of Paul Cook's backroom staff, seems he brought him in towards the end of the season, and I can see him moving up to that, possibly into the first team. But Cook has made a couple of signings with Jeffers, and is it Ian Craney today as well? So he's got a lot of coaches. And he bring more in. I don't know if it'd be too many, but I think natural progression would be to put him into the under 23s, and he already knows the 18s. He knows what players can come through and make an impact at that level, and it may benefit us if he does.
So you just mentioned staff there, and we'll now get on to that, because Francis Jeffers is now a member of Paul Cook's backroom staff. First of all, what do you make of that? Because Francis Jeffers, he's had a very illustrious career in football. Surely he's a player worth getting in just as a coach.
Yeah, 100% agree. And we need someone to work with the attacking players of the squad. That's the area that needs improving. And I think it'd be a great addition. I know a lot of people talking about his private life and what went on there. I believe in second chances for people. And at the end of the day, if there weren't second chances, half the footballers in the country won't be playing football. So, I'm happy he's on board. I think he's a good player, someone that players will look up to, see what he's done in his career, and I think they'll work well with him.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on by saying that. Elsewhere, we have had a few exits as well. We'll get on to another signing in a minute, but Gerard Nash has left Ipswich Town. He is a long-serving member of staff. Gerard worked from the academy to the under-23s to the first team. And ultimately, as I just said, he's been at the club for a long time. So are you disappointed to see Gerard Nash leave? Because quite a few of the first teamers are disappointed to see him leave. So surely he was a coach worth keeping.
Yeah, maybe. It is a shame that he's someone that was with us as a youth player. But at the end of the day, Paul Cook will get people in that he wants. And if we end up having success at the end of the season, every decision that he's made will be the right one. And we wouldn't have no arguments with that. So it's a shame that he's gone, but let's see what happens, in my opinion.
So before we get on to Craney, do you reckon there's a risk with making too big of an overhaul at the club? Because Paul Hurst did that not necessarily to the backroom staff, but to the first team squad. Do you reckon there's going to be a huge risk of just overturning the backroom staff too quickly and too suddenly?
Yeah, there is a risk, but when Cook went to Portsmouth and Wigan, he cleared out everyone and brought his own squad in, his own people in. And if he clears out our squad, there's going to be no risk because all the players will be new. So there'll be no continuity for them because they won't know who is here anyway. So if he brings his own staff in and his own players, everything's new to them and they're starting afresh. There's always a risk, but something needs to change at the club and it's time for that hard reset with major changes.
So Lee Brown, the club needed change, and Stephen Parry says PC has good record of rebuilds, which I think is spot on. So elsewhere, as I just mentioned, we've also signed Craney. Town have confirmed Ian Craney's appointment to manager Paul Cook's backroom staff. Craney, 38, played alongside Cook at Accrington Stanley, where he was later managed by the Blues boss. And he joins as a coach, having been kit man under his management and up until recently at Wigan. So a fairly unknown quantity in regards to his coaching career. We don't really know much about him. What do you think that he could offer to the first team? Is he an addition that we should really be proud of?
To be honest, as you say, I don't know too much about him. I don't know what he'll bring. Obviously, Paul Cook trusts him, same as Gary Roberts. If Gary Roberts had never played for us, we wouldn't have known too much about him before he became one of Paul Cook's coaches. So again, it's one of them. Wait and see what he can bring. Don't know what his specialties will be. We just have to see how that goes. I can't really make too much of an opinion on him right this second.
So that is more or less it for the news, and we do have a question already. Get those questions in. We'll be answering them throughout the show. Brains21, who would you like to see partner Norwood as a striker for next season? So, okay, I'm going to throw that one at you because Norwood, he's a good player. He's been injured this season, so he hasn't really had the opportunity to really play consistently. Would you bring in a new striker to play alongside him, or would you put Norwood on the bench and bring in a new player to maybe play instead of him?
If we've got 40 million to spend, I think Norwood's going to be the third choice striker. I can't really say that who would I bring in to be a strike partner because Paul Cook seems to favour one up front. I know it divides attention. I wouldn't mind either Waghorn or Rhodes because I think both of them will be able to score in this league. And I think they'd be able to score a lot of goals. I know Rhodes has got a video going over Twitter where he's jumping about in his Norwich shirt. But at the end of the day, I just want success for this team. And at the end, I'd take anything because I'm fed up with depression in the way we have slid down these leagues and stuck in this League One now. I would really take anything to get out of it.
So let's talk about two big names who have left the club and who didn't mention about the very beginning of the show, because for the rest of the show we're going to be talking about their legacies, the impact they've both had at the club, and as you could probably have guessed, we're going to be talking about Cole Skuse and Luke Chambers. So both of these players have been stewards of the club. They've been here for quite a while and they both had fantastic careers at the club as well, with Luke Chambers making over 300 appearances and Cole Skuse making over 200. So both of these players are very important. Luke Chambers is, or was of course, our captain. So Chris, are you upset to see the two of them leave? And first of all, what do you think of their legacies as well?
The legacy is not going to look great because of what's happened in the time that they've been here. They've come in when we was looking to try and get to the playoffs, and we made the playoffs, and it's dwindled out over the last few years. But they've been top professionals for this club, and like Luke Chambers, he's been one of my favourite players. I know he's not had the greatest last couple of seasons, but he hasn't done much wrong, and he gets a lot of stick that is unwarranted, in my opinion. And maybe it was the right time for him to go. It's a shame that there weren't 20,000 people in the stadium to cheer him off the pitch, to be honest, because I think they deserve that for the years that they've given to this club. Like Cole Skuse, he doesn't get the credit because he don't make assists, he doesn't score goals, but he always does the dirty jobs. And the amount of times you'd see him track back and make a sliding tackle and help the defence out and stuff like that goes unnoticed. And with Chambers, because he was captain, I think he was made a scapegoat by a lot of fans. And he loved the club, in my opinion. You could tell it meant a lot to him when we won. It meant a lot to him when we lost, and you could see how down he was. And I will always have a soft spot for Luke Chambers, and it's a shame because I've watched his interview that was just released this evening, and it seemed like that he weren't expecting to be released, and we had conversations that he was going to be here for another year, and that all sort of changed. And I do trust in every decision that he's making at the minute. I've got to give him a chance. It's just a shame that it seemed to Luke said that he went in, it was all too quick and it was straight to the point, and that was it. And I think it's a shame to treat someone like that who's given so many years to the club.
So I was just about to go on to that. Luke Chambers wasn't aware that he was going to be leaving at the end of the season. He said, and as he just said, he thought he was going to be staying. So do you reckon that there's a lack of respect from Paul Cook to not really give him any warning? Because he is, whether you like it or not, a legend at the club in the modern era, if that makes sense. He's a player, he should really be respected. So do you reckon that there should have been more respect from Paul Cook?
Yeah, there should have been more respect there, I think. Paul Cook's come in and he hasn't got no allegiances to these players. But I think you know who the players are that have been there a long time, have gave a lot of their life to the club, and more than a 45-second or a 1 minute in, like just conversation, just to tell him he's going after he's had conversation already saying that he'll probably be here for another year. I think that is a bit disrespectful.
So Lee Brown wished them both, but it's best to move on. Stephen Parry, they should be proud as men, but time waits for no man, and the future, unfortunately, is not for them. And Lee Brown's testimonial would be appropriate. So Stephen Parry said that time is for no man. Do you reckon that they'll move to Colchester? And also, I'm also...
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, you've gone quiet again. Oh, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Apologies. Oh,
yeah.
Can you hear me now? Apologies for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to log out again and then log back in due to my because my camera just cut out. So apologies about that. That's actually happened 2 weeks in a row. So as you can tell, I'm not very good at the tech side of things. But as I was just about to say, do you reckon that Luke Chambers should have a testimonial?
Yeah, definitely. I know the testimonial was only for 10 years, but you're not going to get 10 years so much from players anymore. And I think he does deserve it 100%. Like little things, like I took my little girl, I think she was 4 or 5, to the Barnet pre-season friendly game, and she met all the players outside, and Luke Chambers come up to her, chatted with her, had photos done. Then after the game, come out to her, like spoke to her again, in which she was it made her day, and he called her his lucky charm. And then 8 months later, I took her to a game at Pont Road. We went round to meet the players. He came out and he said, "I remember you," and he was talking to her again. And little things like that, it will stick with me forever because it made her day. She was smiling for the whole day, and just it's not just what he does on the pitch, what he does off the pitch, wins all every performance.
And spot on, like Luke Chambers has definitely been a legend at the club, and as he said, he's been a fantastic man off the field too. You know, he's been very kind to the fans, he's been very good to the local community as well. And I don't think we can maybe ask for anything more from a captain. So again, Stephen Parry says wherever he goes, arrange a friendly. Stephen Parry also says at Portman Road it will be packed. So yeah, apologies for the technical difficulties, by the way. It will be fixed. It will be edited down in the actual podcast, but things go wrong when we go live. He's back again. Apologies about that.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, things always go wrong whenever we go live, so it will be edited down in the podcast. So don't worry about that. So let's quickly talk about Cole Skuse, because Cole Skuse is a fantastic player as well, and he's been a fantastic servant at Ipswich Town. But for me, the defining moment of his stint at the club was during the 14-15 playoffs, when he guided us to the semi-finals of the playoffs, where we ultimately got knocked out by Scum, Norwich. So, okay, sum up Cole Skuse's career for me, and how important was he during that playoff season for the club?
He was important. Like, as I said earlier, he's very underrated for what he does. He sits back and lets other players advance, and he'll just be there mopping up balls that come in and just doing the dirty side of it. And even Flynn Downs said to him, like, thank you for all that he's done for him, because he's helped guide him through. And I'm sure he's helped a lot of the other midfielders and any youngsters that have come through. He seems like a proper leader and a good person to be there. And in 14-15 season, he was brilliant. Most of the team was brilliant that year. And it's just a shame that we didn't just push on and go up that year. But 100%, I'm sure he'll always be welcome back at this club. And yeah, I think they're both brilliant players for us. It's a shame.
So Mick McCarthy used to always say that Cole Skuse could play in the Premier League. Some fans probably didn't agree with him, whereas some others maybe did. Did you ever see Cole Skuse as a player who could maybe have moved on to a bigger club? Because he did have talent, he did have that tenacity in midfield, and of course he had a lot of talent as well.
I think it's... You look at Sean Dyche at Burnley. He will never get the credit for being a good manager. I don't think he'll ever get a chance at managing a top club. And I think that's the same thing as what happened with Cole Skuse. I think where he's got that stereotypical role, and he looks from the outside maybe that he won't be able to progress that far. But yeah, I mean, he quite possibly could have made it. If we'd have gone up, he could have been a main player for us if we'd have gone up in 2015. We'll never know. But yeah, it's quite possible he could have made that jump.
So I was just fascinated just then by you mentioning that Cole Skuse was, of course, a huge role model to Flynn Downs. Do you reckon that we've actually lost a captain in midfield by letting go of Cole Skuse? Even if he didn't play, maybe he'd be a fantastic character for the younger lads in the dressing room. So yeah, I'm going to go back to my original question. Do you reckon we've lost a captain/leader in midfield?
Definitely, yeah, because you look around at the rest of the midfield at the moment. I know a lot of it's probably going to change in the summer, but there isn't so much of a leader there or a role model in that midfield. Even in the defence, there isn't now, either with Chambers gone. So yeah, they are big shoes to fill, and I hope Cook knows that, because with what's left, we can't have a full season with 22 or 21, 22, 23-year-olds without any leaders on the pitch or off the pitch. So yeah, there are some big shoes to fill there.
So finally, before we get on to more things about the summer, let's talk about Cole Skuse again, because Cole Skuse didn't really get the tributes that Luke Chambers did. Fans weren't really paying that much respect to him on Twitter in the way that, like writing posts, like saying, oh, he's been a legend for the club. Do you reckon that Cole Skuse should really be recognised more? Because again, he has been a very consistent player, rarely injured up until this season. And of course, he's been a fantastic servant as well. Apologies, I think we've lost you there. So apologies about the technical difficulties.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Did you just hear the question? Yeah, we can hear you. Sorry about that.
Yep, sorry.
So let's get on to the original question. So I just said Kolskis didn't really have that much respect, or people didn't really pay that many respects to Kolskis on Twitter, in the like paying tribute to him and all of that kind of stuff. So Kolskis, do you reckon we should maybe recognise him more for the role and the contribution that he has given to the club?
Yeah, it should. I mean, I'm one of them, to be honest. I put posts on Instagram and Twitter about Chambers, how gutted I was, and I didn't put anything about Skuse. And really, when you think about it, I should have, because he doesn't get the respect he deserves, really, for what he gave to the club. And it's again, as I keep saying, it goes unnoticed, and it's because he doesn't do the fancy stuff. He just does his job, and that's it. He's always a 7 out of 10, and a lot of fans want 8 and 9s and then a 4 and a 3, but because they get the 8 and the 9s, they'll get noticed more. Whereas Kolskis is all the way through. He's the same level. You know what you're getting with him, and he.
So, Stephen Parry, there will be brought in rumours. So there are rumours that there will be a new captain at Portman Road. So let's quickly get on to the summer, because there will be a huge turnaround, and who knows, maybe as Stephen Parry just alluded to, there might be a new Wigan, maybe the Wigan captain coming into the club. So who would you have as the next captain, and would you have a captain from another club, or would you have a captain from within the team, maybe like Eppling Downs, for example?
I don't know if I'd go for Flynn Downs, because he didn't want to be here last summer. Can you really give a captaincy to someone who wants away? I think the new captain will be a new player. Who that will be, I really don't know. I think if I had a choice of in the squad, I'd give it to Nsiala. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but again, he puts his body on the line. He does give his all, and there's the odd mistake in him. But since I think it must be going back since the turn of the year, I don't think he's done anything wrong, and he does try 100% every game. So he would be my choice at the moment. It all depends on who comes in the summer, though.
And it's interesting that you've mentioned Nsiala, because he's actually done a lot of good stuff for the community. There was this lad that he was autistic that Tato Nsiala used to go and see. He used to go and give him footballs. He gave him a signed shirt. So like things like that prove that he's a great man for the community. He's a great man to have around the club. And I actually agree with you there. I reckon he would be great captain material. So finally, just to end out the show, what do you reckon we should do for next season? Do you reckon, again, we should bring in new strikers up front, new strikers in midfield, new midfielders? Apologies for that. Or do you reckon we should bring in perhaps a few new defenders? Who would you bring in the summer?
Well, I don't rate either goalkeeper. I'd be happy. It wouldn't bother me if they both was to go. I think we need another left back. Miles Kenlock done okay. He hasn't pushed on either. He's 24, 25 now. He still hasn't nailed down a left back spot as his own, and I still think we could get a better left back. We obviously definitely need a couple of centre backs now, because we've only got Wolfenden and Nsiala. We need players all over the pitch, really. We need wingers. I hope they don't re-sign Gwion Edwards. I haven't rated him since we signed him. I think he runs with the ball, loses the ball, then fouls the defender for no reason at all, and his crosses are not the best. I think we can get a better wingers than that. We need wingers on both sides. We need strikers. We need a good 10, 11 players, I think. We really do.
Is promotion a must for next season, or could we maybe give Paul Cook the benefit of a doubt and just say, okay, this has been your first season, you haven't gotten us promoted, we'll give you another season, because that's what we did with Paul Lambert. So is promotion for next season essential for Paul Cook and the club?
For Paul Cook, it's essential. I cannot see him being manager if we are not promoted next season. And I've listened to all the interviews that the new owners have done, and that they seem really nice people, but they're also businessmen, and they also all admitted that they're impatient. And if we're languishing mid-table again, we will be getting a new manager, in my opinion. But it's I don't think it is 100% essential. It's essential for fans because we want us to go up. That's the only thing that we want. But it's not essential for it. It's not like we're going to go out of business if we don't. We've still got these American backers, and they can only make money if we get to the Premier League. If we go up to the Championship, they'll lose more money, because to compete in that league, every club loses money. The only way that they make anything back is by us getting to the Premier League. So they will be putting their money where their mouth is, in my opinion. And I'm confident, I'm very confident we'll be going up next year. Anything can happen. There's good clubs coming down, and I know it's going to be a hard league, but we are in with a good chance, and I think it will happen.
Spot on. And finally, before we do wrap up the show, just tell the listeners where they can find you and sponsor you for your London Marathon run. And we'll also put it in the description and the comments down below. So just tell us where they can find that.
All right, so you can, my Twitter handle is @LudacrisWade, and the link is on there, or you can go straight to the website at virginmoneygiving.com/Tyler_10 years.
Perfect. And I'll sponsor that myself. So
and
I really appreciate.
Go to the Lullaby Trust, which is a cocktail charity.
Absolutely perfect. So again, we will put that down below in the comments. I apologize for the technical difficulties from tonight's show. I think most of that is from my behalf because my camera cut out. So don't worry. If you want to hear the full show about technical difficulties, it will be edited down, and it will be just fine when it comes out on Facebook, Twitter, and of course via streaming services. So I just want to thank Chris. We will put the information for his sponsor and which charity is going to go to in the comments down below. It's an absolutely wonderful course, so I definitely recommend you taking a look at that. And I just want to thank those who have listened to the show, because this is the last episode of the season. It means a lot to me. It means a lot that people have been tuning in every week. It's more or less just been a little hobby of mine. So again, it means a lot that people have tuned in. If you want to listen to any great podcasts during the off time, then Kings of Anglia, Talking Town, Blue Monday, those podcasts regularly still do shows. So be sure to check them out. All the content creators there are absolutely fantastic, and they are great listens as well. So again, thank you very much to Chris for coming on to today's show. I really appreciate it. You've been a wonderful guest. And once again, thank you very much to those in the comments and those listening on iTunes as well. When will we be back? Says Lee Brown. We will probably be back midway through the summer for a special one-off episode that will probably be on transfer targets, transfer rumours, and all of that stuff. But apart from that, we will be gone until next season. So again, thank you to all of those who've come onto the show, all the contributors, you as well, Chris, for coming onto the show. I really appreciate it. And of course, those who enjoy or who listen to the show. So as always, we're going to wrap up now. Keep following the town.